Sounds good.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Trash Talk. I'm very excited today. I am joined by Dylan Flynn from Columbus, Ohio. He has a project called Pass the Base, and he is here to tell you all about it. So, Dylan, here's the floor. It's all for you, buddy.
So, as this fine gentleman said, my name's Dylan. I got my first bass guitar when I was 15 years old. Approximately 5 months after the.
Yeah.
All right. Um, Approximately 5 months after getting the bass, I suffered a traumatic brain injury in an auto accident. The neurological damage, I'm not really able to play. Um, my memory just went out.
No problem, buddy.
Hey, let's beginning. My name's Dylan. Uh, I got my first bass when I was 15 years old. Suffering a traumatic brain injury shortly later, I'm not really able to play. I'm 36 now. Coming up on 6 years ago, I started Pass the Bass. I've been getting bassists to play mine. Bands let me sell merchandise at shows. I sell a little online, and the money goes to the Brain Injury Association of America. I'd say over 50 bassists. I don't keep track. I probably should, but you know, it's gotten so many. It's kind of hard to keep track. But I'd say over 50 bassists have played mine, and over $16,000 has been donated. I mean, I'd say 3 weeks will be 6 years. It's pretty much one man campaign. Just trying to do everything I can to make more people aware of this and keeping my fingers crossed, turn it into something bigger. I mean, if you look up Past the Base on Facebook, you'll find plenty of information. Um, After the injury, my mother was. I spent 12 days in a coma. My mother was told that I wouldn't live, and then that I'd spend my life in a nursing home. I ended up walking out of rehab about 10 weeks after the injury. I've lived an independent life ever since. Having greatly exceeded expectations, um, whether delusional or not, I kind of feel like the ideal individual to spread awareness of this. My point of view is regardless how many classes they take, how many books they read, how many patients they see, unless they ever suffer their own, no neurologist will ever have the slightest clue what it's like to live with a brain injury. And having suffered the damage that I did, but so greatly exceeded expectations, I feel like I can voice what people going through situations similar to mine better than them. And I just want to make people aware of what it's like to live with a brain injury as best I can and do what I can to improve the lives of everyone out there struggling with a brain injury.
Nice, man. That is a very noble cause. Um, so before we get into your brain injury and like the details of that, let's talk about who has played your bass. For everybody watching this right now, we were plagued with technical difficulties, and this is the third time we're recording this. So he's already gone through this, but we're gonna get him to go through it one more time because he's a great sport. Dylan, who's played your bass that you remember?
Okay, prior to starting this campaign, the concept of just getting bassists to play mine, so it wasn't just laying around and crossed my mind. The first two to play it were Chris 2 with Anti Flag and Joe Ginsberg, who plays with Chuck Reagan and the Revival Tour. At that point, the only friend I'm still in touch with from high school suggested that I kill two birds with one stone and get some use out of this space so it's not just laying in my closet while raising money. Um, I'd say approximately 3 weeks, so it'll have been 6 years since I started this. Um, the most well-known bassists who played it are Fat Mike with No Effects, Matt Freeman with Rancid, Ken Casey with Dropkick Murphys. Um, I'd say hands down the most well-known is Mark Hoppus with Blink 182. Um, I mean, there's definitely a lot out there. Joe Principe with Rise Against is one of the greatest to added their name to the list. Um, I mean, it comes and goes who I can recall, but off the top of my head, those are a handful. I mean, I don't want to seem unappreciative of the others. I want to one day have this over 50 be over 5,000. So I'm very grateful to everyone who's played it. Um, but watch Mark Hoppus is who got me interested in bass. So I mean that was a real fucking honor to watch him play mine.
Yep, right off the bat,
Um,
man. That's awesome. That's awesome.
um, my I gotta say I'm a little disappointed. My favorite bassist is Dan Andriano with Alkaline Trio.
Oh, I
I've
love Alkaline Trio.
I've traveled over 30,000. No, I'm sorry. Excuse me. I've traveled over 20,000 miles to see them around 35 times. He fooled around with mine once before a set with one of the side bands he's in.
The
Um,
Dan
once
Adriano in the emergency room.
I don't think that was it, but that might have been it. He does it. I mean, he's in the Falcon, the emergency room. He does a couple other things. Um, I know it wasn't actually. You know what? I can't say I know anything. The only thing I know is it wasn't Alkaline Trio. Um, I ran into him once after an Alkaline Trio show. He said, "Bring it to the next show. I'll play it during the set." Now, in his defense, it wasn't the next show I brought it to. It was the next show.
Oh, you
So
broke it.
so
You broke the rule.
technically he wasn't lying because I didn't bring it to the next show. But still, I brought it to the show. I gave it to one of their crew guys. He didn't end up playing it. And I gotta say, I significantly prefer these people. Fat Mike played it in the dressing room once. I have a P bass deluxe, and I guess those are too heavy for him. He has some back problems, so he wouldn't play it during the set. Mark Hoppus did during sound check. Um, Jay Bentley with Bad Religion played it in the dressing room before me first in the Gimme Gimme show, but he said he would play it during the set of a Bad Religion show. I greatly prefer during the set. But with Dan Andriano, I mean, if I was the only one watching and listening to hear him play a song during sound check, I would be fucking forever grateful. I mean, In Vain, I want to watch and hear him play In Vain while singing that song. I'd give a fucking kidney to have that happen. I have to say it wouldn't be my kidney, but I'd give a kidney for it.
I know a guy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I it, right? There are kidney beans out there.
Technicalities, right?
Yeah. I mean, fingers crossed one day I'll be able to add his name. I'd love to get Mike Dirt with
Oh, with Green
Green
Day.
Day. That would be an honor to watch that. Um, I mean, I have such a shitty memory because of this injury, but I know there are other specific bases out there that I want to contribute to this campaign. But like I said, I just love to turn that over 50 into over 5,000. So, I mean, you play bass, you find yourself in the Columbus area, you're doing a show. Let's add your name to this list.
I actually know some guys who are going to be touring in the States soon. I know a bunch of horror punk guys in the States too. Uh, this podcast, hopefully, we'll be able to get that word out to some of those people so we can get some people to play your fucking bass, man.
The more the merrier.
That's awesome, buddy. That's awesome. Okay, so let's go into the guys who've helped you do this. You were saying earlier Kevin Lyman and the manager of Flogging Molly.
Yes, those two have contributed the most to making this campaign progress. I met Casey Kress, who is currently Flogging Molly's tour manager, at Chuck Reagan, who is Hot Water Music's lead singer and guitarist, Sideshow. Their bassist at the time is Joe Principe, and he played my bass. Um, I saw them 2 nights in a row. He played it at one of the shows. Then I probably hadn't seen Casey for maybe 2 years. Um, Talking about a coincidence, I went on Flogging Molly's first Salty Dog cruise 6 years ago, and I was standing back by the sound equipment before Flogging Molly set. I must have just been talking to some random people. I'm sure just talking about music. We're on a fucking cruise listening to bands. Um, and conveniently, Casey had become Flogging Molly's tour manager. I didn't recognize him, but fortunately, he recognized me. He came up and said, "Hey," um, at the time, he gave me his email address, and over the past, well, as things progressed, he ended up giving me his cell phone number. Over the past 6 years, he got me into a Rise Against show where Joe from Rise Against played my bass. He got me into a Fat Records anniversary show where Fat Mike with No Effects and Joe Rapiso from Lagwagon played my bass. He's got me into um, uh, a punk and drublick show. Um, he got me into a handful of Flogging Molly shows. I was going to be able to sell at 3 Flogging Molly shows 3 years ago. The first one was going to be in Indianapolis. About 10 minutes before I got to the venue, I had a seizure and crashed my car. Ended up missing all 3 shows. As a result of that, I lost my license for 10 months and I missed a lot of shows, which was pretty damn disappointing.
Wow.
Um, Anti Flag has been a pretty big help with this. Um, their lead singer, um, God, I feel like a dick. I'm blanking on his name.
Anti Flag is just insane.
Justin Ting, yes. Um, I met him once. He gave me his cell phone number. I really fucking regret it. I deleted it. I thought it was inappropriate of me to ask him for it. I thought maybe because he was intoxicated, he gave it to me. So I ended up deleting it. And I wish I hadn't. But he's told me that I'm welcome to sell at any of their shows. Um, they played the third show I would have sold that for that Flogging Molly tour 3 years ago. Um, Anti Flag opened up for them. And then not being able to drive for those 10 months, I missed another Anti Flag show. Um, I mean, it's kind of hard to get to these shows when you can't drive. I've lived a pretty antisocial life, unfortunately, since my brain injury. So I go to the vast majority of these shows alone and think it'd be pretty costly to take Uber for 2 hours. Don't think that would probably be worth it. So yeah, I've gone mostly to local shows, um, and in Ohio, the bigger shows tend to be in Cleveland. So yeah, I've missed quite a few of those over the past couple years. Um, but then Kevin Lyman, um, maybe 5 years ago, I got in touch with Gavin Caswell, who is currently Census Fails guitarist. Um, at the time, he played bass for them. I was able to get in touch with him over Facebook. He played my bass at a show in Cincinnati. Or, actually, I think I just met him at a show in Cincinnati, and then he ended up playing it at a show in Cuyahoga Falls up by Cleveland.
Oh, nice.
And at the Cuyahoga Falls show, um, one of the employees with the Warp Tour was able to take me backstage. Um, I was able to get on Lyman's tour bus and hang out with him for, I don't know, a half hour or something, just talking about the concept of this campaign. Um, Things progressed with him, like Flogging Molly's tour manager. I've stayed in touch, established a decent relationship with him. Um, I flew down to San Francisco to sell the two shows that were for the last year of the Warp Tour 2 years ago. Hands down, the best Warp Tours I've ever been to. Um, Anti Flag's my favorite band. Um, Bad Religion was there. Don't know why I didn't get Jay to play my bass during that set. The Offspring were there. It would have been cool to get my bass played by their bassist. It's no longer Greg. I can't recall the name of who's playing bass for them now. Um, but Kevin's got me on stage to promote at shows. He got Alternative Press to do an article about the campaign. I maybe a few weeks ago I bought a plane ticket to fly down to LA, and I was going to hang out with Kevin for a few days in Los Angeles and do some podcasts and everything we could put together in 4 or 5 days to spread the word of this. Because of this virus, I decided to delay the trip. I'll wait until I'll get a vaccine and then reschedule. But I mean, he's a damn good man, and I'm very grateful and lucky to have met him. So, I mean, I believe with every beat of my heart, this campaign has a potential to become something significantly bigger.
Hell yeah.
Even after 6 years, I once looked up the definition of campaign, and to me, I don't think a campaign can be one person. But I think from the definition I read, a campaign can actually be a one man little shindig. But I mean, you hear campaigning and you think at least a small group of people. Um, but I would love to, and legitimate isn't the right word. I mean, this couldn't be more legitimate. I'm not trying to screw anyone over or do anything. I mean, this passive base epitomizes legitimate, but I guess I want to turn it into something more official. I want to make more people aware of this. And I mean, you've got like the what is it, Susan B. Komen out there for breast cancer. I mean, people all over the world know about that. I want to make people all over the world know about passive base. I mean, to all you fine gentlemen out there, you wear one of these passive base shirts, you'll be on the cover of GQ. You'll be beating women off with wiffle ball bats.
Oh,
And
you got to
two,
get one
two
first.
women, I mean, you don't want to hurt them, you just want to deter them. So they're going to have to be wiffle ball.
No means no, ladies.
And, and two women, you'll be walking runways in Paris and Milan in one of these. These epitomize fashion. I don't know if it's
You heard him. You
I
heard
don't
him.
know if it's just a bullshit rumor, but I've heard that Klein, Lauren, and Hilfiger are filing for bankruptcy because of these shirts.
You can't prove him wrong.
I mean, all joking aside, um, I just June 6th is going to be 21 years since I suffered my brain injury. I mean,
Wow.
I lived 21 out of 36 years with this injury, and I feel like given some assistance, I could make passive base something. I mean, I gotta say, I'm a behind the scenes kind of guy. I couldn't care less if people know who I am. I'd be grateful to be doing all the legwork and having someone else take credit for this. As long as I get to go to those fucking free concerts.
Yeah.
But but um I don't care if you know who Dylan Flynn is. I want you to know what passive base is, what it stands for, and um, do whatever part you could. Just tell, I mean, to everyone who's seen Wayne's World 2, when Mike Myers is talking to Tia, I believe is the name of the woman who plays his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Uh, Mike Myers thinks he's cheating on her. She's cheating on him, and she asks him where he comes up with this, and he says, "You know how these things start. You tell two people who tell two people who tell two people. If that's all you can do, please, everyone who's watching this, just tell two people about passive base." And hopefully they'll tell two people, and I, I don't want anybody, okay, I don't think there's no way people aren't going to struggle with brain injuries. There's no way that's not going to happen. But I want their struggles to be as minimal as possible. I want I want to, whether it's 99% or 1%, I want to do everything I can to improve the lives of everyone out there struggling with brain injuries.
That's awesome, man. I can respect that hugely. Um, my partner Alex actually has I don't know if it's actually exactly a brain injury, but she had epilepsy when she was younger and she actually had surgery for it. So she can relate. She can relate. I can relate from an external point of view. You're definitely a great man for what you're doing. What kind of bass is it?
Um, it's a P bass deluxe.
Ooh, I love me a good P bass.
The first bass I had was a Fender Squire. Um, then I had a that unfortunately burnt down in a house fire.
Oh,
Um, then I got a P bass Mexican, and now I have this P bass deluxe. At one point, I bought a Fender Mustang, and I when I went down to that last Warp Tour in Mountain View 2 years ago, I gave the Mustang to Kevin Lyman. Um, he took it to a golf tournament and got after getting some signatures on
and
it. He
auctioned it
took it.
off.
Yes. Um,
Nice.
I I can't recall. I don't think he ever told me any names about the people who signed it, but I mean, I'd love to make more people aware of this. I'd love to get a bass signed by Mark Hoppus, by Mike Dern. Um, I mean, eventually turn this into something bigger and get. I mean, well I think um, Anti Flag Alkaline Trio, Flogging Molly, Dropkick Murphys. While that's the music that I hold dear to my heart, it's on in the scheme of things, it's not very well known, and I would prefer to um, get some more mainstream bassists to take part and sign and auction some shit. Um, unfortunately, well, unfortunately, I guess I could look at it both ways. It'll probably raise more money. I mean, I'd rather have a bass signed by um, Fat Mike or Dan Andriano than these mainstream bassists. But if we auction those will bring in a lot more money. And the whole concept of this campaign is to bring in money.
You know what
I
you
mean,
should do? There's a bassist out there who's just a bassist. He's a famous session bassist. His name is Mono Neon. You should see if you can get a hold of him through Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. He's one of those guys. He's an exhibitionist type bass player. He might do it. You never know.
no harm in
And
trying.
he's one of those. He's kind of one of those mainstream guys, right?
Yeah, like I said, no harm in trying. I'll definitely, I
Google it up,
mean,
right? Might as
yeah,
well.
I mean, I feel comfortable saying that over 1 million people know about this campaign. Kevin Lyman got alternative press to do an article about it. Um, I don't know how popular it is.
But it's out there.
Dying, well, no, I mean Dying Scene. Dying Scene did an article about it. I think it's kind of well followed. Um,
Yeah.
living in living in Denver for 2 years, a magazine named Westward did an article about it. Um, I did greatly exceed expectations, but I still have significant struggles as a result of this brain injury. I live off of Social Security disability and I get food assistance. Um, I went on Flogging Molly's cruise 2 years ago. I ended up um, depositing like a little over $2,000 into my bank account. I sat down immediately afterwards and made a donation. I ended up having my food assistance taken away. I went in and showed them, hey, I
This
did
is a
make this.
donation. Like, this is a donation receipt.
Well, yeah, well, I showed them the confirmation email for the donation. I, I, I think I actually showed them my bank statement saying, "Hey, this $2,000 went to the Brain Injury
Yeah, it's not
Association of
mine.
America." Yeah, um, they told me that potentially you could get your food assistance back tomorrow. I didn't get it back. I took while living in Denver. I also made some donations to the Brain Injury Alliance of Colorado. Um, I went in to talk about getting my food assistance back with an employee from the Brain Injury Alliance, and again, they told me potentially I could get my food assistance back. I still didn't. So I reached out to um, the local Denver CBS, ABC, and NBC on Facebook. Um, ABC and NBC didn't respond, but CBS did. And a reporter came to my place twice and did an interview with me. Um, I have to assume that airing on CBS,
Got you your food
not,
assistance
not,
back.
I mean, that was great. I did immediately get my food assistance back, but my bigger concern was making more people aware of this. And I have to, I mean, it was unfortunate timing. It aired almost immediately, maybe 2 weeks before this damn lockdown. So I had people reaching out to me saying they wanted to play my bass, wanted to let me sell at shows.
And then it
And then
got cut right off.
all of a sudden it's gone. But
Oh,
I, I, I think it's safe to assume that at the least, it made a lot more people aware of this campaign, which is, for the time being, the ultimate goal. The sales, the donations, the money raised will the more people who know, the better.
that's right,
So,
man.
I mean, baby steps is what it's all about.
One, like you said, two people. They tell two people. They tell two people. I can't pull my toes up, but it gets big quick.
Yeah, I mean, um, when I went on that Flogging Molly cruise, I talked to a guy. I think he lives in, yeah, he lived in Florida, lives in Florida. Um, he told me he saw, so Ken with Dropkick Murphys is a left-handed bassist. So unfortunately, he wouldn't play my bass during the set. He played, I couldn't tell you the name of it, some song during sound check. It looked pretty damn weird with it being flipped over,
But he did
going
it
the
because he's
wrong.
a good bassist.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, it looked weird. It sounded absolutely perfect. But then when I met this guy on the cruise, he told me that Ken Casey from Dropkick Murphys mentioned the campaign at a show in Florida, which put a big fucking smile on my face. Um, I really wish I had a better memory. Um,
I'm pretty sure that we can let that slide considering the circumstances.
um, I can't remember the name of the bassist or the band he's in, but somebody sent me a picture on Facebook of one of these great bassists. I ran into him at a show in Denver. I ran into him at that Warp Tour in Mountain View. Um, but a couple years ago, somebody he played guitar with me first in the Gimme Gimmes when I met Jay Bentley. Um, but somebody sent me a picture of him wearing a Passive Bass shirt at a show in Europe or some other country. That was pretty fucking cool to see.
That's
Um,
awesome, man.
um, another they're from Sweden, so they're less well known, but they're still moderately well known. Millencolin. Um,
Millencollin's pretty well known. It's close, but no cigar. And I don't want to hear it.
yeah.
Fuck yeah,
Um,
man.
um, Nikolai. Nick, I think it's Nikolai. Um, their bassist and lead singer. I mean, the vast majority of these bassists who played it only play it for one song, which, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm very grateful. But the Masked Intruders bassist played it for the whole set.
I love the
Um,
Masked Intruders. Actually, I have a couple of friends of mine. Um, Whenever there was a Fat Wreck tour that came through town, they used to live above me. And whenever a Fat Wreck show would come around, they would have the bands come over or stay at their place. So Masked Intruder, they got a picture of Masked Intruder in all their masks sitting at the kitchen table eating breakfast. And I had um, the bassist from Descendants come and hang out after a show one time too. Smashed Intruder is just a bunch of sweethearts.
um, yeah, he played it for the whole set. Um, Gavin Caswell, who I believe I mentioned, used to play bass for Census Fail, plays guitar now, but he played it for the whole set at a Warp Tour a few years ago. Um, but Nikolai from Millencolin played it for half the set, which was pretty fucking cool to watch. Um, and I have to assume that, I mean, fingers crossed, him wearing his Passive Bass shirt, um, them letting me sell at a show. Hopefully, that at least gets the word spread to a minimal degree in Sweden.
Hell
Um,
yeah.
on the Salty Dog cruise, I would say a pretty damn good percentage of those people aren't from America. So, I mean, it's definitely the word's definitely out there in other countries. Um, for now, like I say, baby steps. Ohio aware of this, then everyone in the Atlantic time zone, everyone in the US, and then let's get everyone in the world. I don't care if you're, it'll put a fucking ear to ear smile on my face when one day I see a 1 year old's first words pass the base.
Hell yeah,
It,
man.
it's not mom, it's not dad, it's not yes, it's not no. So it'll technically be 3 words, but the first 3 words that come out of that young boy or girl's mouth pass the base.
Nice, buddy. That's awesome. Dylan, You are an absolute gem, man. Um, I want you to come back on the podcast later so we can go over all of this again and we can talk about some more of the bassists who have played your bass. And hopefully by then, you've had this lockdown and this virus cleared up a little bit, and hopefully, um, we can get some people up around Canada here passing the bass.
Absolutely. And I gotta say, I'm very grateful for this. I mean, I want people, I mean, the more people who know, the better. But tomorrow I'm doing my first podcast with Kevin Lyman, and I am so fucking looking forward to that. I don't know why it hadn't crossed my mind to suggest it in the past, but we have it scheduled for tomorrow. So, I mean,
Would you? I don't want to intrude, but would you do me a favor and mention this podcast to Mr. Kevin Lyman?
yeah, I'll mention it during the podcast tomorrow. Yeah,
During the podcast. That's I wasn't expecting that, but hey man, if you want to do that, I
just
will hopefully eventually come down to Columbus and play your bass myself.
um, absolutely. Just shoot me a message and remind me to tomorrow, and I'll gladly do it.
Awesome. Dylan, you're a gem, man. You're a gem. And I
Do you
hope
have any idea how fucking insulted I am when you call me a gem? That
I'm,
is
I'm
that is the
sorry.
that is the epitome of an understatement. There was a 7-year long study at Harvard that concluded that I am the most justifiably arrogant man in the world. So when you call me a gem, I mean that's a fucking understatement. I feel so I feel so fucking belittled when you call me a gem.
Oh my lord, you are an undiscovered alien civilization, my friend. You are an anomaly.
I am. I came to that conclusion years ago, but we might have come to it for different reasons.
Fantastic. This has been great, man. I'm gonna ask you to stick around after this for a minute, and yeah, we'll chat it up and we'll exchange some contact info. Dylan Flynn, pass the base. It has been an absolute pleasure talking to you. And from Canada, and from Trash Talk, and from myself, Nate Trash, um, I hope we can get to 1 million people who play that bass, man. I hope we can get that bass played to splinters. And then get a
Sounds
new one.
good. Sounds good.
Awesome, buddy. It's been great. So that was another episode of Trash Talk. Thank you everybody for who tuned in. I'm Nate Trash, and go check out Kyle McCart podcast. Go check out Getting Late with Big Nate. Go check out Shat Music. Go check out all Canadian artists, American artists, worldwide artists, and don't be an asshole, please.